Welcome to the ProfitMaxx software tutorials. This tutorial series will help you better understand the setup of your ProfitMaxx software and let your service department realize the benefits of proper technician management much quicker. Let's get started.
Chapter 5, Data Entry Made Easy. Now there's a real good reason why we said data entry made easy, and that's because it's very, very simple. Literally, I'm going to show you in just a matter of a couple of minutes here how to enter the information into the ProfitMaxx software. And literally, with very little training, you'll be able to get the data in about 2 to 3 minutes per technician per day. We would also strongly suggest that the service manager actually do the data entry probably for the first 2 or 3 weeks. Not because we're trying to make the service manager the data entry clerk, but just so he can review the timesheets, make sure they're filled out properly by the technician, see the ease in which it's done, and then he'll also be able to clearly understand what he's looking for on the timesheet when he does his real quick review. So to begin with, probably for the first 2 or 3 weeks at least, have the service manager enter the data, and then you can hand it off to a data entry clerk, and the service manager can literally just scan through them in a matter of minutes and see how everybody did every day. By this time, you should be pretty familiar with the opening screen of the ProfitMaxx software. It's the one with the big ProfitMaxx logo in the middle of it. Now, the second icon over, the one that looks like a red cross truck, that's your data entry button. So click on that, and then the smaller screen to the right pops up. If you want to enter data, you simply go to the drop-down menu where it says Employee, pick the employee you want to enter the data for. On the date, again, use the drop-down menu. It'll show you the month. Click on the day in which you want to enter the data. It's just that simple. Once you've picked the employee and the date that you want to enter, click on the Add button down at the bottom where it's circled in red right now, and then the data entry screen comes up. You will put in the action code, and if you put in SO1, it automatically jumps up. If you use the down arrow on the right, it'll list all of them, so you can pick it off the menu, or by the time you get used to the action codes themselves, you can just start putting those in. When you get the one that you want, which in our case is the SO1, it'll bring up the screen or data entry for the SO1, which is Service with Diagnostic. Now you'll notice as you go through the different data entry screens, every time you put in the action code, it only brings up the information that's critical to put in for that particular action code. Some action codes have the whole sheet that needs to be filled out. Some of them only have 2 or 3 entries. So when you put in the action code that you're going to be using, ProfitMaxx will only bring up the fields that you need to physically enter into the system. So you're not going through a bunch of fields that are unnecessary, or you're not sitting there wondering, do I need to fill this in or not? It only brings up the ones that need to be filled in. When data is entered into the timesheet, it's amazing what you can learn instantly without ever looking at a report, without having to scan anything. Take a look at the data entry sheet we have in front of us right now. Data has been entered for the SO1, which is Service with Diagnostic. You'll notice the time in the center section about halfway down on the right. It says total hours, 2.5 hours. Well, based on the time from dispatch to the end, the technician has actually charged this job with 2.5 hours. Well, then what ProfitMaxx instantly does, it goes back to your billing format, and it compares that against what you should have collected during that period of time. So if you look at the diagnostic charge, it says my actual charge was $72. Well, I actually collected, because it's in green, I collected $4 more than I normally would have for a diagnostic charge. If I look at the repair charge, it says I actually collected $198. Well, based on our billing format and the amount of time the technician was there, he underbilled the customer by $71.33. So simply by putting the data in, the data entry clerk or the service manager later on when he begins to review the timesheets will instantly know if the technician has underbilled the customer and by how many dollars. And if it was me and I was a service manager, I'd find out what that job was. I would look it up. I would sit down with my technician and say, hey, what's going on here? We spent too much time. What's happening? We didn't collect the money we should have collected. Now remember, during setup, we talked about Attaboys. And Attaboys is anything a technician does that's over and above the call of duty. Something you want to give him extra points for that's going to show up on his Tech 500 bonus program. So let's go through how we enter an Attaboy into the system. Again, you're in the timesheet area, timesheet entry. You'll notice there's two tabs. We just went through the timesheet. The one that's circled in red in the upper left-hand corner says Attaboys. So you click the Attaboy. That brings up a list of employees. You simply click on the employee you want to give a Attaboy to. In this case, it's Bruce Dern. Once we have Bruce on the screen, the center section, we go to the bottom and we click Add. And then we simply put in the date that he earned the Attaboy, and we put a description of that Attaboy. In this case, it was worked 2 hours last night, no complaining. And then you click Add, and it adds it into the system, and it automatically puts it into the Tech 500 bonus program. Now again, remember back when we were doing the setup, we assigned a certain number of points to Attaboys. You may have said for every Attaboy an employee gets, he gets 2 points or 5 points or 8 points. So let's say, for instance, you've assigned 5 points for an Attaboy. In this particular case, when Bruce got an Attaboy, he got several points for that. That goes directly into the Tech 500 bonus program. Now, if you remember, we suggested that the service manager input the data entry for the first couple of weeks. But let's assume now we've passed that process. Now we're maybe a month into the program, and we have somebody else inputting the data for us. Now you're the service manager, and hey, I want to review my timesheets. This is a very simple process. Remember the old days when you had to physically find the timesheets, put them in order, try to read the text writing, figure out what was going on? Well, now it's right in front of you. I mean, if you look at the screen in front of us, we simply put in the employee's name we want to review. In this case, it's Bruce Durham. We go to the date, and again, we can use a drop-down menu to pick out any day we want to review. In this case, we picked July the 1st. Well, it's got every call that the technician went on during that day. You can immediately see the action codes, AO2, company meeting, MO2, SO1, service of the diagnostic. You can see everything that went on. Once you have called up the particular day you want, then you want to click on the view down below. Once you've clicked on the view, it literally goes to the first call. It shows you all the data that was entered on the AO1 code. Then it shows you all the data when you hit the next one, the MO2, the SO1, and you can literally just flip through those timesheets in a matter of seconds. And what are you looking for? I'm looking for green, and I'm looking for red. And if I see all green, I'm a happy camper. And if I go through and see a bunch of red, guess what? I'm going to have a meeting with that technician pretty quick. Payroll is going to love ProfitMaxx. Why? Number one, there's no more handwritten timesheets to decipher. All of us know that techs aren't real good at writing. It's difficult to read, and it's always a headache for payroll. What did he say? I can't read his writing. What's going on? Well, that's not a problem anymore. Also, there isn't going to be any more hunting for the timesheets. There's always one guy at the end of the time period that says, gee, I meant to turn in my timesheet. I can't find it. So payroll spends a significant amount of time just trying to track down the timesheet. Well, guess what? Timesheets are entered through ProfitMaxx every single day. So the result is, at the end of the payroll period, you may pay every week, 2 weeks, once a month, however you do it, you simply run the payroll summary report within ProfitMaxx, and it lists each employee, the total number of hours they worked each day, any overtime or on-call hours they had. It's literally a physical written summary of all of their time that's easy to read, and you literally just hand that to payroll and let them make the payroll entries. Again, payroll people love ProfitMaxx. Hopefully the tutorial that we've just finished on data entry made easy has shown you how simple and easy it is to input data into ProfitMaxx. Again, keep in mind that you can replay this tutorial anytime you want. You can move it forward, move it backwards, stop it when you need to. And also remember that you can press the F1 key anytime while viewing any screen within the ProfitMaxx software for a detailed explanation of what you're viewing. This is the end of this tutorial. Select the next tutorial you wish to review.